Mega Cruise Update. Mega Cruise Update. Mega Cruise Update. Man, there's so much cruise news popping off. 10 cruise news stories today covering your favorite cruise lines, and even a story about the government sticking their finger in that cruise industry pie. All right, let's talk about it. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Cruise News Show. I'm your host, Tony, here with the Cruise News Updates. Let's kick it off with some MSC Cruise News. MSC announcing that they are bringing 4 cruise ships to Florida for cruising in 2021, and they will be leveraging a new home port for 2 of these ships. Yes, Port Canaveral coming into play in the MSC world. They've cruised primarily out of Miami. There was some scheduled sailings out of Tampa, but this will be the first time that there are scheduled sailings out of Port Canaveral, and they're bringing their newest cruise ship over. The MSC Seashore will be sailing out of Miami in November of 2021 after making its debut in the Med during the summer and fall of 2021. The other cruise ships that will be in Florida next year, the MSC Armonia, the MSC Divina, and the MSC Meraviglia. The Armonia and the Seashore will be in Miami. The Meraviglia and the Divina will start out in Port Canaveral. The Divina will eventually also move to Miami. Some great itineraries. They got the whole Caribbean covered up, Eastern Caribbean, Western Caribbean, Southern Caribbean, and they will be leveraging their private island, Ocean Cay. The Armonia will even have some overnight stays at Ocean Cay. So MSC continues to make inroads here in North America. It's one of my favorite cruise lines. I've had such a good time on the Seaside and the Divina. I'm looking forward to trying that new ship, though, the Seashore, and I'd like to try the Meraviglia. I guess I'll have some opportunity next year. Big, cool cruise news coming out from MSC. Our second story involves Disney Cruise Line, and the news is not as good. Disney Cruise Line joining a bunch of other cruise lines that have now come to terms with the fact that it will be at least 1 year that they will have not sailed. Disney Cruise Line announcing the suspension of their March sailings. The last Disney cruise was mid-March of 2020, and the next Disney cruise will be early April 2021. Currently, Disney Cruise Line is bringing their cruise ships back to U.S. waters, working their way through the conditional framework for the return to sailing, and it looks like there won't be any sailing in the first quarter of 2021, but they will be jumping into it early April 2021 with itineraries on the Disney Dream, the Wonder, the Magic, and the Fantasy just within the first few days of April. Just another reminder of how long it's been since cruising's happened. We're closing in on a year, just a couple more months, and it will be a year since no cruises. Now, while cruise cancellations has become a reality of 2020, another thing that's starting to become more apparent of 2020 and 2021 cruising is the increase of technology on cruise ships. We talked about it recently about the new air filtration systems that are being put in place on Norwegian Cruise Line cruise ships. Of course, enhancements to the muster drill. We've talked about that. Another new piece of technology that you'll likely see on cruise ship is body temperature scanning. AIDA Cruise Line just outfitting 3 of their cruise ships with body temperature scans by a company called Dermalog. I do think this is something that you'll see on a lot of cruise ships where you will have to present yourself for body temperature scanning. If your temperature's fine, you just go on without your day. If your temperature's elevated, then the cruise line will take a closer look at you. So if you talk about contact tracing, talk about temperature scans, these are things that are a little more intrusive than what we're used to on a cruise ship, but I think minimal things to keep us safe on the cruise ship. So AIDA rolling out this technology, it would not surprise me if we hear about other Carnival brands, other cruise lines doing the same. Just a quick update on Royal Caribbean's Quantum of the Seas. She is sailing again in Singapore. You remember the story just last week, 10 days ago. Quantum of the Seas with a false positive test on board, causing the safety and health protocols to kick in, requiring that cruise ship to return to port before the cruise was over. We know how that all turned out, but they're back sailing again. I guess the big takeaway for me from that is you really do see the relationship between the government government and the cruise line working well there in Singapore. The Singapore Tourism Board giving the thumbs up, working with the cruise line to get the sailings going again. Singapore doing very well with the virus, and so it makes sense that in a place where the virus numbers are low, where the government is working with the cruise line, it's good to see how that's working out. And it does give some glimmers of hope, possibly when the numbers go down here in the U.S., and maybe if the government and the cruise lines work together, we could get sailing again soon. But excited for the Singaporeans who are able to get out there on the sea. As all you cruise fans know, there's nothing better than just catching some time on the sea, even if you're not really going anywhere. So excited for those guys. That's the update on the Quantum of the Seas. Another big Royal Caribbean story that's been making the rounds the last couple days is Royal Caribbean has sold a couple cruise ships, which was kind of shocking for me. I thought maybe they'd make it through the whole shutdown without having to get rid of any inventory, but it looks like that time has come. They have sold a couple older cruise ships to a Southeast Asia interest. This is the Empress of the Seas, the Majesty of the Seas. I guess the exciting part of that story is these ships were not sold for scrap. They will continue to exist, continue to serve passengers. These ships are built in the 90s, and so these are some old cruise ships, but there's still some life in them, not going to the scrapyard, continuing to please passengers. And but those ships are fairly nostalgic for people who are royal loyal, and so I know a lot of people are bummed out that those ships are going away, but they're not getting beat up, they're not getting scrapped. So that's the good part of the story, and it just goes to show you that these cruise lines will do whatever it takes to keep going, including selling off some of their older inventory. Another piece of Royal Caribbean news, which I'm finding to be pretty exciting, is that they have simplified their future cruise credit process. So if you have a future cruise credit with Royal Caribbean, this is what you have to know. April the 30th, 2022. Right now, if you have a future cruise credit with Royal, write that date down, April the 30th, 2022. Book it or sail it by April the 30th, 2022. If you have a future cruise credit that was caused by the shutdown in mid-March of 2020, you can use that future cruise credit all the way up until April the 30th, 2022. This is in response to some different dates of expiration. When do I have to book the cruise? What cruise do I have to book? This is giving people more time to figure out what to do with their future cruise credit. And the other cool thing that Royal Caribbean is doing is if you have a future cruise credit that meets this criteria, you can convert that into a refund. If you took the future cruise credit in the beginning, but now you're like, I'd really like to have the money, you can do that. There are some particulars with this. If you have a future cruise credit on Royal, make sure you reach out to Royal Caribbean. Make sure you reach out to a travel professional. If you don't have a travel professional and you have questions, you need help with this, my wife Jenny is an excellent travel agent. She would be happy to help you out. You can reach her at jbarnett@expediacruises.com. She can help you with your future cruise credit. But if you're doing it on your own, mark that date, April the 30th, 2022. Don't lose your future cruise credit by forgetting about it. That is your new date for Royal Caribbean. A story we talked about last week, Australia has extended their no-sail cruising ban for 90 days, set to expire in December of this year. They've moved it out to March. This has caused Carnival Cruise Line to change the sailing on one of its cruise ships in Australia, the Carnival Splendor. It had to cancel some more cruises. Any cruises between March the 25th, 2021 and April the 19th will no longer take place. Those cruises are canceled. The other cruise ship there in Australia for Carnival Cruise Line, the Carnival Spirit, all of their sailings have already been canceled through May the 16th, 2021. That continues to be true. So yeah, be on the lookout if you had a Carnival cruise on the Splendor in Australia. Those itineraries have been canceled into April 2021. So as I mentioned in the intro, the government has found another way to regulate the cruise industry. But before I get to that, I do want to talk about a couple more pieces of Carnival Corporation news. First off, Holland America Line has a super interesting promotion. The only reason I include it here is this is something I feel like I want to take part in, but they're having a BOGO sale on Holland America, and this is a sale I've never seen this done quite this way before. It's a buy one, gift one sale, and the way it works is that if you book a balcony or a suite, they're going to throw in an interior room to boot. So this is pretty interesting because we're always trying to talk like my brother into going cruising. We think about taking our adult kids on a cruise. And, you know, if you take your adult kids on a cruise, you got to pay for that. And so you're always looking for the best way to save money. Well, this buy one, gift one is a great opportunity for that. It's exactly what it says. So you're just paying the balcony or the suite price. You're getting the free interior. The interior could be single occupancy. It could be double occupancy. But yeah, essentially it's 2 rooms for the price of 1. This sale just started on the 17th of December. It runs through January the 5th, 2021, and it covers cruises throughout 2021. They've got cruises to the Caribbean, cruises to Europe, Mexico, Alaska. And so if you're eyeing a cruise toward the end of 2021, you've never tried Holland America, this might be the great opportunity to do it. We've never been on HAL, but I'm really thinking about tagging Jenny and saying, look, maybe we can talk my brother or somebody and going with a cruise, because you know it's a lot easier to talk somebody cruising with you when you say I got a free cruise for you. So this is essentially what it is. Yeah, interesting sale by Holland America. BOGO, not just at your local supermarket. And if you are a fan of the BOGO, let me tell you about an awesome offer we have here at Lido Loca. You can subscribe for free, and you can click the notification bell for free. So it's not even like a BOGO, it's like a FOGO. FOGO. Free one, get one. Subscribe, notification. Look, it's the invitation. If you enjoy cruising content, if you like to stay up to date on all that's going on in cruising, please consider subscribing with the notification bell on. That way you don't miss out on any of these episodes. Thank you in advance. And in a story that I'm saying Christmas came early for Carnival Cruise Line, doesn't have anything to do with Santa Claus. He's getting ready for the big day. We wish you the best, Santa Claus. But yeah, Carnival Cruise Line, they received a gift a few days early. They have received possession of the Carnival Mardi Gras. I would say one of the most anticipated cruise ships of the last few years. Carnival Mardi Gras, a departure for Carnival Cruise Line, taking them to what I feel like is the next level of their cruising. This is the first cruise ship in their XL cruise ship cruise line. It'll be featuring a zoned approach to cruising where there's different zones on the cruise ships with different themings, partnerships with Emeril Lagasse, Shaquille O'Neal, Guy Fieri. Carnival Cruise Line's first foray into LNG powered cruise ships. A lot going on with the Carnival Mardi Gras. Now Carnival Cruise Line, they have possession of it and they're just waiting to sail. The first sailings on the Mardi Gras, the inaugural, will be in April 2021. And now it's time to get that thing staffed up and get ready to go sailing. I'm excited. We're on the Mardi Gras unless we can get on it earlier. We're on it for Halloween 2021 with a big group, and yeah, looking forward to that. And now let's talk about a little more government intervention when it comes to cruising. You got to take it all with a grain of salt, and I'm about to tell you about a few new regulations for cruising that are good regulations. Most of the time, government regulations could be a little overbearing, but these make sense to me. It's interesting how we got them. They were packed into the defense bill that was passed by Congress last Friday. You know, the defense bill that funds the military, those kind of things. Well, there was a proviso stuck inside that bill, and it had to do with healthcare and safety and crime prevention on cruise ships. And the major regulations coming out of it is that cruise ships will be required to have healthcare facilities and healthcare professionals on every cruise ship to take care of customers that meet the standards of American healthcare. Now, certainly there has been healthcare facilities on cruise ships for long periods of time, but not necessarily to that same standard as the U.S. standard. The credentials for the healthcare workers on board maybe not rising to the level of a full doctor, and but now that is the requirement being put in place by these regulations. In addition to requiring the doctor on board, there's also a requirement to educate people better about the health facilities. Part of the regulation stipulates that part of the muster drill should include informing guests where health facilities are. So not only would you know where your lifeboat is, but also where the medical facilities is on the cruise ship. So a significant focus on health in this regulations. And then the second part of the regulations focus on preventing crime on cruise ships. And the big lever they're pulling there is more widespread deployment of security cameras. a requirement for cameras in all public areas. Again, lots of cameras on cruise ships, but not all public areas are covered by a camera. And an enhancement to that is any footage recorded by a camera now has to be stored for 20 days. If you have any familiarity with security cameras, a lot of times they will write to a backend that will be overwritten in 24 hours. You know, as space runs out, the camera just writes over the older stuff, and sometimes you go to look at those cameras and they're like, oh, the footage already got overwritten. Well, now the regulations are going to be put in place where those have to be held for 20 days in case that footage needs to be investigated. So it's interesting, anytime that I hear about the government regulating business more, weirds me out a little bit. These regulations are good. There should be good healthcare on cruise ships. That's better for citizens. There should be a good way to track down crime on a cruise ship, so that's better. Hopefully this just doesn't get mired in a bunch of red tape, and this is already mired in some stuff. The Congress passed this legislation on Friday. The way that works is then it goes to the desk of the president. The president is signaling that he's going to veto this bill, that he's not going to sign this bill. Then this legislation goes back into the Congress, and if the Congress has the right amount of numbers, they can override the presidential veto. So all the stuff that we just talked about, not a law, not a regulation yet when it comes to cruising. We may see this, we may not, but there's a whole political dynamic that has to play out before this is passed or not passed. We'll continue to track along with that. Whew, that's a big old pile of cruise news. Did you make it this far? Are you still here? Leave me a comment saying I'm still here. And maybe tag what your favorite cruise news story was for the day. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed the show. My name's Tony for Lido Loca, and until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. Bye.